Ready.
Hi everyone, Sue Matsuki with another Sue's Muse. Welcome back to 2026. This is my first Sue's Muse of the year, and it's with a very dear friend who I adore, Terri Dannenberg. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. We go back a long time, and I met you when we were both kind of interested in musical theater, and we are doing stuff up in the Bronx. And so you had this background of musical theater, but were you always musically inclined in high school? Did you do shows? How did you come to musical theater?
I wasn't so much in high school doing shows, but I started doing singing and theater at a young age. So instead of doing shows in high school, I actually did shows in community theater, which I thought were probably a better caliber. I don't know. I was so young, I don't know anything. But and that's how it started. And I went to acting school and I took lessons and I wanted to be a serious actress, but I was also able to sing. Um, so that's how everything kind of started. And with
What
my
kind of vocal training did you have? Was it more classical? Was it American Songbook? Was it musical theater stuff? Was it belting? I know you have a really diversified voice.
Yeah, it was so all my voice coaches, teachers always wanted me going to the opera range because I had this big voice. It wasn't something that I liked to do. Like my father was a big opera buff, so he would always try to push me into that or country music, which I don't know why he thought that as well. But most of the stuff I did was musical theater, Broadway kind of stuff. But I always liked to belt, so I'm used to being like belt and the big voice and started doing things that way. And cabaret is totally different than that.
Yeah.
So I'm learning how to take my voice and utilize it in a different way. And I like it. I like doing it that way. I like, being able to belt something out, being able to use my soprano, working on my lower register, just trying to be all as rounded as I possibly can.
Tell me a little bit about what you think. I mean, you're fairly new to the genre of cabaret. I think I had something to do with introducing you to the genre a little bit back in the day, in that you asked me to help you produce something, and then you kind of got the bug again because you hadn't been on stage, and then I introduced you to Lena Kutrakis, who you're currently working with, and everything. But your impression of what musical theater was versus what cabaret is now bringing to you. What's your impression of the two different genres?
It's well, I started wanting to do cabaret around the same time that you got into it years ago.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, it was something else to add into my repertoire, right? So I had back in the day, my 20s, I think it was, I would go to Brandy's and there was this waitress that I liked a lot and I would follow her and see her shows. And then she was teaching a course at Turtle Bay Music School and I took a cabaret course. And when I learned that I had to write patter and talk about me, I was like, oh, this is not going to happen. And I just never did it. I was like, no. But then, years later, I was trying to raise money for a charity, and that's when I called you. I'm like, hey, I'm on this committee, and they were always doing like beer pongs and all these little things at bars, and I suggested that maybe we do a cabaret show to raise money, and that's when I called you. Thank you, and it got me into the groove again, and then COVID hit.
Yeah.
Like shortly, because that happened in 2019 and then COVID hit and I was like, oh, this is too hard anyway. It's hard trying to pick songs, blah, blah, blah. And then one day I was just like, you know what? I really want to do this again. And, I reintroduced myself to Lena because, 4 years prior, she didn't really kind of remember me. And then I went to Greece and then that's how the whole thing happened. And then losing my job was able to afford me to actually focus in on this show. And I like because there's this vulnerability side of it that scares me. But I'm learning to share that part with everybody. And I like it. I like having that diversity and being able to do anything that I want, produce anything that I want in my way, my tone, my voice. And as much as scared as I was, I think it went really well. I think it
It
was
went
good.
more than really well. You have two great reviews, which I'm going to link right down below. You should read them because for a solo debut show, this was as polished a show could be. And the fact that it was a solo debut show was doubly impressive. Now, I know her, I'm friends with her, full disclosure. I'm going to say this. In class, I didn't get the sense of what I was going to see on stage. And several of us who love you and have been in class with you said the same thing. We're like, oh, wow, and it's not that we couldn't hear that you could sing. You could always sing. It was just your command of the stage, your confidence, everything you just mentioned about being afraid, none of us saw. It
Yeah.
was really one of the best debut shows I've seen in a long, long time in terms of someone taking command of a stage. You were funny as hell. You were poignant. You were belty. You were tiny. You were poignant. It was an incredible cluster of songs. Now, the show's called appropriately so everything. And I feel like you did give a little bit of everything, but I know that that's not what that means to you. Tell me about the concept of the show, how you came to it being called everything, and what that means to you.
Um, well, thank you for that because now you made me blush and all that. So let me just start by saying thank you
I
for
only
everything
say the
you just
truth.
said. Thank you. Thank you. How did everything come about? I think it was like early 2024. I had just come back into the Lena class, and I think I had done that song like in 2019 in one of my classes with her, and I was like, let me resurrect this song. So I sang the song "Everything" from A Star Is Born, and it got really good reviews. And then Susan Mack said, "That's the story of your show," and that's how it kind of evolved into. And then Lena was like, "Wow, yeah, that's great. That we should do something like that." And in terms of everything, like, at one point I was thinking, like, let's call it everything within moderation, because listen, what is everything? But then I was like, well, what does everything mean to me? And then we started doing this list of songs, and it, I would, because it was just songs that I kind of like to sing, or I heard it. There's a few songs that I started listening to, like after Gavin Creel died, I went down the rabbit hole of listening to everything that he ever did. I picked a song that he sang. Um, and then I was like, well, I could write patter for that. And I could write patter for that. And I have a story for that. Not realizing when I picked these songs that I had those stories behind it. I was like,
It's funny because
I'm going to write.
sometimes I think you pick songs, and sometimes I think songs pick you. So that was
Yeah.
probably a combination, because the fact that you could write something when you were afraid of writing meant that you were picking songs that really truly meant something to you. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
interrupted you.
Yeah.
Continue your thought.
No. And that's how the whole thing came about. And then of course with Lena's just
Yeah.
magical way of the way she directs and she puts things together and she sees things that I would never see. We put the show together and it started one way, and then everybody was telling me that it kind of ended and kind of closed the circle. And that was one of the things that I was most scared at when was telling her when we first do it. I'm like, what if it doesn't make sense? What if there's nothing cohesive? And she's like, just calm down. It will be. It will be. And there we have everything.
Um, you this is the first time that you've worked with a trio too. You mostly have just been piano bar, open mics, piano and vocals. How was that? I mean, you've got the best in that trio, the Gregory Toroyan trio, Skip Ward, David Silliman, Gregory Toroyan. Amazing. But how was it working with the trio this time?
Well, it was good. Like, and that's one of the things when I first started talking to Gregory and we're working on a show, I was like, I don't think I can do a trio because I'm going to mess up. And how are they going to help me and whatnot? And he's like, don't worry about it. If you do, that's what I'm here for. And I got a lot of compliments about the band as well. And I figured, and I love it because it is my debut show. And I did that extra step in getting the band. And I was like, wow, it kind of just made everything, you know, just cohesive, and some of the way the band fit with the music that I chose, it was perfect. And if I do mess up, which I'm sure I have done, those guys are just great. They'll just, there's things that I have like in rehearsals, I cheat. I'm like, okay, I'm going to look at you and see where it's at and things like that. But it was great work, and they're just fantastic
It's
guys.
funny, I just did a Muse, and one of the things I did a blind criticism on was when people kind of go like this and, am I coming in and whatever, because and I didn't see any of that in your show. I saw a confident woman leading a band up front, and I'm sure whatever the guys were doing behind you, they were protecting you. Whatever happened, happened, but none of us saw any of that out front. Now, you're going to bring this show back to Don't Tell Mama on Friday, February 20th at 7 p.m., correct?
That is correct.
Now, just so you know, if you want to see the show, and I highly recommend it, you need to make a reservation immediately. This girl has a lot of friends. The first 3 shows sold out to the point where none of us in the class could go see her. So Sydney moved her into the big room, and then she called all of us who couldn't get tickets and say, get it now. So if you want to see the show, and with Max coming up in March, and I'm assuming and hoping that you put yourself in for debut, you might want to come see the show. I know you have a special Mac cover charge, right? It's just $15 for Mac members or something?
It's $15 for Mac members. On the website, it says 20 because the ticket price is 25, but Mac discount is 15. So even if it's on the Don't Tell Mama website for 20, it's only 15 when you get to the.
All right, so you're going to do an encore of this show. Do you have something in the back of your head for something you want to do next? I mean, you don't have to share the concept because people steal, trust me. But do you have kind of something on the back burner that you're thinking of? Are there a pile of songs you're working on now for whatever in the future? Or?
No, that's one of the things that I need to find songs and experiment and figure out. I did have a concept before I had this concept, but I kind of like the way the whole storytelling works. So I kind of want to still go into that realm and try to talk to my uncle to see if there's any great stories that he may have that I don't know about.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't. And I'm looking at all different genres and arrangements, but I think I picked like 2 songs right now. And I'm just
there's no rush. I mean, art takes time, and there's no rush, and just enjoy the road of this one. You did 3 or 4 shows already.
I did 3. Yeah.
So this will be your 4th show. Yeah.
4th show. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now tell me a little bit about your family, because this show had a lot of beautiful stories about certain members of your family. I kind of covet when I hear people talk so lovingly about their family and their memories and stuff. How much of your family's memories played into how the show was created?
Pretty much everything. We get emotional. Everything. There's a song in there about my dad. It starts with talking about my parents, but my father was one of those people who, the world is was a much better place with him being in it. I know everybody says that about their fathers, but it's true. And so, there's a song about him in the show and how he brought us up and how he raised us to be who we are. There's a couple of songs, my brother's in it a lot. Like I don't really mention him in the songs, but he's kind of like a thread throughout the show. And that was just purely coincidental based on the songs that we chose and the stories behind them. Mm-hmm. And then there is also my nephew, who I'm extremely close to. I touch upon his mom in it and how, so she unfortunately passed away when he was 16 years old. And me and my nephew were close. We got even closer, and I'm kind of like his, he always tells me I'm like the closest thing to his mother.
Yes, surrogate mommy.
So there was a song that I sang about him. Of course, he came to the show. He came opening and then my birthday show. And he was crying pretty much throughout the show, but he told me that he cried because at the beginning, because he didn't know what to expect. He was very nervous for me. He's like, I don't know what she's doing up there.
And then he realizes you're good, and he's like, phew.
Like, oh, okay. So, and then of course I talked about my father and his mother, and it choked him up a bit. So, but yeah,
it's a beautiful thing. Now you're an original New Yorker, right? Where do you come from?
Born and raised, born in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
Lived in Queens for the first 6 years. Born in the Bronx. 9 days later, moved to Queens. Moved back to the Bronx, is where we met. And then moved to Manhattan. I lived in Westchester for a little bit as well, but then moved to Manhattan in 2023. And I am born and raised, and I just love it here.
What is your work background? I know that you're looking for work right now, but what were you doing prior to all this newfound cabaret love?
Yeah, so I started as a theater major, like I said, and then I did like the whole audition thing for a couple of years, and my mother's like, fall back on something. So I went into marketing because I was going to market myself. Which maybe I'm trying to do, like, 40 years down the road or 30 years down the road. But I was in advertising. I worked for an advertising agency for 18 years. I was head of their content production and direct mail and out of home and digital kind of production side of things. And then I went over to a consulting company where I learned a lot about, the digital space and AI and all those things. And then in 2024, I got laid off, and which
So
afforded
here's
me.
the thing. Anyone out there watching this have any
Yeah,
connections? Let
right.
me know.
Well,
I'll put you in touch. You get a great look how sweet she is.
there you go. There you go. And I appreciate that. I'm also right now, I'm like working at Macy's kind of, and I think I like not having to go into an office. So I
Oh,
think I want
that's
to like kind of
interesting.
step back. And because, I'm at a point of my life where, I paid my dues, I did all the work. I'm tired now.
Yeah.
And I think I just want to work like retail and just, go in and then mentally not take my work home with me mentally.
I
So
hear you.
I can take my music home with me
Right.
and work on that. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking of tired, you tirelessly foster beautiful pets and animals. How did you come to do that?
I've always wanted to do that because animals, they're just abused, they need love. They're so unconditionally loving.
Hmm.
And my friend's cousin was doing it, and I was like, you know what? Let me just do it. And I did it. And I think I fostered like between cats and dogs, like 25 cats or dogs.
Wow.
The first dog that I fostered got adopted in my building, which I loved. The second one was adopted in my neighborhood. And then I have a few that had gone to friends, parents, and things like that. It's nice. And then people always ask me, how do you give them up? How do you
I
not
was
fail?
just going to ask that because I fall in love. I look at those little faces and I fall in love, and it must be really hard to kind of like let them go. But knowing they're going to a good home makes the difference.
Exactly. And then it leaves space for me to get another dog. So dog gets out of the shelter, goes to me, and then goes someplace else. So now I can take another dog out of the shelter and go. So it's saving more than just one life. Because if I failed, I wouldn't be able to foster any more dogs. Because I do have a dog, and she doesn't appreciate it, but she deals with it.
And she's got to be a big sister all the time, right?
Yeah, yeah. And then I watch my friends' dogs when they go away. So when I go away, they watch my dog. So
So
yeah.
let me just ask you in closing the interview, what is your wildest, biggest dream in relation to coming into the cabaret world? Where would you like to see yourself go with it? Is there a specific goal, or is it just like most of us, just to kind of put one foot in front of the other and see what comes up next? What's your plan?
I mean, my plan is to just do another show and keep doing it because I enjoy it. Would I'd love to be, revered as like this big cabaret star? Sure. But I just like doing what I'm doing, so I just keep doing what I'm doing. Like I don't listen, I wish it was something that we could actually make money on. And I was like, oh, I don't
Wouldn't
have
that
to
be
get a
nice? Yeah.
job. People are telling me, but one, I think my dentist is like, she goes, but you're doing the cabaret shows. I'm like, yeah, but it's not paying my bill for the dentist kind of thing. So,
I
so
say it's
yeah,
like a drug habit, my cabaret habit. It
yeah,
just-
exactly. My goal would be to just keep doing shows and being able to have people come and sell out and, not worry about attendance. That I think is a big thing. So,
Yeah, that's the hardest thing. I mean, you had being new on the scene and your friends being so uber supportive. Now you're also
yeah.
part of a running club. You've done this Cancer Society benefits, and you have
Mhm.
a lot of people around you outside of your world that now know what a spectacular singer you are. I'm sure that they were all kind of really surprised when we did that show back in the
Yeah.
day, and you got
Yeah.
on stage and sang the way you did, and you're singing so much better, if you can ever believe that. She was great then, and she's even better now, as we all should be as we grow and learn. But they must be really, really proud of you. Your community must be really proud of you. So
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
the cabaret community is, and all your sisters and brothers around Lena's group of
Oh,
people and Gregory's
yeah.
group of people are really, really proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you. There's such a supportive. I mean, the cabaret world is just supportive people. They're just everybody's so nice. So yeah, it
Well,
was
I'm
good.
going to try to get a ticket to come back and see you. We'll see if I can get a seat. I better go do it right now, and so should you. The link's going to be right down below, direct link to tickets. And as you know, at Don't Tell Mom is you just make the reservation and you pay cash at the door. Sweet girl, welcome, welcome, welcome to the cabaret community. Boy, did you take it by storm. I'm so proud for you. I can't say I'm proud of you because I had nothing to do with it, but I'm really proud for you and continued good success with everything that you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank
Thanks
you.
for being part of Sue's Muse. We'll see
Thank
you
you
all
for
next
having
time.
me. Bye,
Have a great
guys.
day.